Recently, a friend of mine asked me if it was possible to build a power supply to fire up this board, and also to put it into an enclosure. So of course we started the designs, and I came up with a prototype. This is the first prototype which I came up with, and it has a 5 volt, a -15 and +15 volt output along this connector. It supplies all of the power requirements for the previous board, and it also includes a precision 0 to 10 volt reference for a load amplifier as well, which is included on this board also. Also there are amplifiers for offset and trimming the load cell amplifier, and that was an optional requirement. Many of the parts were sourced from either Rapid Electronics, a UK supplier, or Farnell Electronics, also a UK and worldwide supplier. On the opposite side of the board we see a fuse holder and wired connections here. One of the requirements was also to replace these wired connections. We'll come back to that in a second. And also the capacitors are all on this side of the board. It just helps for the later mounting of the board, which again we'll talk about. Also there's a trimmer here which can set the gain for the bridge amplifier option, and a fuse holder here which protects the whole of the power supply from overcurrent. Here's one of the early manufactured boards, again the same parts on here, so this is pretty much identical to the original design. The load cell parts are not populated on here, but you can see where the component placements will be or can be. Also the wire connections have been replaced by the Camden Boss 2-part connection. It allows anybody that wants to connect to the board to make the connection much quicker. All the capacitors here shown are all supplied by Rapid, as is the fuse holder and fuse. If we flip the board over to its other side, we can see again the +5, -15 and +15 voltage regulators. Also Schottky diodes and inductors, which are again supplied by Rapid. Farnell Electronics also supplied the gold headers and inductor and higher power Schottky diode. So here you can see the two board assembly, the original board on the top and the power supply board mounted underneath. This enclosure was made from a piece of polystyrene material, which we cut and then folded with a hot air folder, well, a hot folder. The material is available again from Rapid Electronics. It's very easy to use, very easy to cut, and makes a nice finished job. There's a top which goes on over here. And here you can see the advantage of using the Camden Boss connectors, in that all we need to do is just plug them in to make the connections to the circuitry. So here I have the mating connector, which simply plugs in to this mate here. Very easy to do. And now we can have a power supply, 24 volts this uses, in order to fire up the board. So we'll plug in our 24 volts and see what happens. Okay, so we have the flashing red light on here, which actually shows that everything is working correctly. And what I'll do next is we'll power up a board and we'll just have a look at the voltages which are generated by the power supply from the 24 volts. Okay, so here's a board now with some power on it, and we'll just check out the voltages and make sure that everything's good. Okay, so if I probe on here, we can see the incoming 24 volts DC. There it is, 24 volts. 5 volt supply, which we can see on here, and there she is. And then if we can have a look at the plus and minus 15 volts, so we've got plus 15 on here and minus 15 on there. So there we can see everything's working okay on our design. So this is pretty much a completed board and ready to put into our custom case.